We have a very big week ahead for crypto with key macro events, which will cause a lot of volatility. Plus, these two altcoins are getting ready for a breakout, and Kronos is making some big moves with Trump Media. This is your Altcoin Buzz News. Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Cody, and if you're new here, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you know when we drop latest content. Follow us on Twitter, altcoinbuzzio, and as always, the not financial advice, and wish the best of luck in your crypto ventures. Also, make sure to join us for our X Spaces Tuesday to Friday at 10 a.m. EST, link down below. All right, good morning, you guys. Happy Monday. So Bitcoin is starting to look good here, but we are not out of the woods just yet. We have some big volatility events coming up this week. So what we want to see from Bitcoin is we want to see it break above this level around 113.5. We want to see it come back above here, close a candle above here, close an actual daily candle above here, and then retest down here somewhere around here. And then we'll start to make these higher lows and higher highs and continue this uptrend. It's starting to look like an uptrend right now where we have this low set and it looks like we're starting to, make these highs, but we haven't broken above this high here yet, which would then take us into a daily trend uptrend. On the lower time frames, you could argue that we're in an uptrend, but on the daily time frames, which I want to see us break back above here. And so we're waiting for that. Hopefully we'll get some volatility this week and we'll go upwards. But it is possible we have a volatility to the downside as well. So we have crypto over here saying big week coming. Tuesday, September 9th, we have U.S. non-farm payroll annual revisions. Then on Wednesday, September 10th, we have the U.S. PPI producer price index, which is actually what took us down last time this happened. This was a big sell-off when we had PPI. And then Thursday, we have a U.S. CPI, which is a consumer price index, and ECB rate decision. Expect a volatility. And then we have Bitbull expanding on this, saying PPI inflation. This will be released on September 10th. The last time the PPI inflation came way higher than expected, and it caused a Bitcoin local top. And then for the initial jobless claims, if it comes higher than expected, the Fed rate cut will probably go up. And then the CPI data, the expectations are of 2.9%, and the market is hoping for lower data. If that happens, the Fed could even do a 50 basis point rate cut. So we have a big week ahead for inflation data. Not only that, but then we also have the Fed's decision next week. So these next 2 weeks, it's just constant, new, big macro news. And because we're at that precipice where, maybe we're going to start cutting rates and maybe it's going to go even higher, it's a very important month for all of this macro data. And then we have CryptoRS saying on-chain signal, Bitcoin's illiquid supply just hit a record 14.3 million Bitcoin. That's over 72% of circulating supply locked away, thanks to a fresh 20,000 Bitcoin accumulation in the last 30 days. Long-term holders are stacking heavy even after August's correction, tightening liquidity and priming the market for potential breakout. And then we have Bitwise telling CNBC that $5 trillion in buying pressure is coming to Bitcoin.
Well, every day at Bitwise, we talk to institutional investors. These are RIAs, hedge funds, family offices, high net worth individuals, and the pattern continues to emerge that more and more of these investors are starting with a 1% allocation to Bitcoin as they build their portfolio. And then what we've seen time and time again is those 1% allocations ladder up to 2, 3, 5%. Now, many investors that we're speaking to have a much larger allocation than that, but we believe that investors will allocate somewhere between 1 to 5% of their portfolios to Bitcoin. If you just take a step back and think about how Bitcoin has a 21 million supply, or how Bitcoin has a 21 million fixed supply, and if you think about what a 1 to 5% allocation would be for the 100 trillion institutional investment space, that's 1.5 trillion of additional buying pressure for Bitcoin over the next 10 years. And that's why we think there will be a continued sustained supply and demand imbalance that will drive the price higher.
And then moving on to crypto.com, we have Trump Media and crypto.com, which had a partnership that we talked about a couple weeks ago. They have now closed their purchase agreement today, with Trump Media completing its acquisition of 684.4 million CRO to be securely stored and staked with crypto.com custody. We also have Lunar Crush saying Kronos' social engagement spikes to a 1-year high as Trump Media's DJT takes a $105 million stake in Kronos tokens. And then we have Crypto.com's CEO Chris talking about an IPO, saying this.
The plans for Crypto.com more broadly, we're just hearing of IPOs of Gemini and the like. Would you ever think of an IPO? Would you ever think about selling parts of the business?
I have to admit it's quite tempting to consider these options, given how richly the market values crypto companies these days. We certainly have the numbers to do so. We've done about 1.5 billion in revenue last year, about $1 billion in gross profit, reinvested about 700 million of it, so let's say 300 million net profitability. This year, I think it's going to be better, especially if we see the Fed rate cut and a strong Q4 following. So we have the numbers. We've been approached by all the top names in terms of the investment banks. We want to be a very well-run company, so we are working on preparing everything, but no decisions have been made at this point. We think that we actually enjoy operating as a private company. It allows us to move really fast. We've got a solid balance sheet, so we don't have to make any decisions in the short term.
And then moving on to an altcoin, which is on the verge of breaking out, we have Say. So we've not telling saying, over the past month, I'm sure you've noticed, most coins exhibit extreme volatility going up and down in large swings, but Say has been coiling sideways, tighter and tighter with increased volume. This is a clear indication to me of accumulation, and it's just a matter of time before the breakout to 50 to 60 cents in a quick move. The on-chain data is also showing this trend. Say added 14 million new addresses in the past month, 62 million plus wallets today, and over 600% growth since the start of the year, $1.5 billion plus in monthly DEX volume, TVL skyrocketing from 180 million at the start of the year to 590 million, several ETF filings with dovish language from both the SEC and the SIBO, and built for institutional adoption. Some trades are just too obvious, that requires a little patience. And then we have Say Wizard saying Say is 3 times faster than Aptos, Say is 5 times faster than Sui, Say is 200 times faster than Sol, and 1,000 times faster than Ethereum. And we also have Maddie saying Say numbers are insane, 941,000 daily active addresses, 500 million daily transactions. With those numbers, Say has outperformed major chains like Polygon, Avalanche, and Injective. All cylinders are firing. And also Say is a sleeping giant ready to explode. Say just crushed 211,000 transactions per second on DevNet. The Etherscan is on board, 1.5 billion plus in DEX volume. TVL rocketed from 20 million to 2 billion in Say, and several ETF filings. And price just chilling at 25 to 28 cents, a 10x incoming. So he's showing this chart here where we could be going to $2.50. That's a bit of a stretch to me at this point, but I'm not saying it can't happen. But I would first take this move where we would trade something like this. This is something I could definitely see going on for Say. And I really like the Say chart here. It is consolidating really nicely. It's been holding these lows around 25 cents, this blue box. And so I really like how Say is consolidating. And so what we like to see when we are kind of in a downtrend like we have been the past 2 months for Say, what I like to see is what it's starting to do right now is we spike up, we do this, and then we kind of go sideways like this. And that's what we're starting to see right now. And so we've stopped going from straight down like this to then going sideways, which then leads to us going up. So that's what I'd like to see for Say, and that's what we're starting to see right now. So if we get any more kind of over the next week or so, if we get any kind of bad news or we start to sell off or anything like that happens, if we come down here between around 26 and 28-ish cents, I'd like to build a position down here and then probably target towards at least these highs up here, which around 55-ish cents. I'd probably target something like that, and that's a 96% move. So that's a big kind of swing trade on the daily chart, but I think that's definitely possible. I mean, these guys are targeting $2.50. I'm just targeting 54 cents for a little 2x on Say, but I like this chart. Any kind of consolidation around here a little bit longer. Maybe even if we took out some of these lows here, that'd be a great entry if we took out any of these lows down here around 26.5 cents. But this is what I'm looking for on Say on the daily time frame, and it looks pretty good to me right now. And then moving on, we have Walrus, and Walrus is now the first decentralized data platform with on-chain access control. With Seal live on the Sui mainnet, developers can store, encrypt, and control access to data, all on-chain, all decentralized. Programmable privacy is finally here. We also have AI builders shouldn't have to choose between decentralization and performance. That's why Yada Labs is integrating Walrus as its dedicated data layer, powering cost-efficient, lightning-fast infrastructure for massive AI workloads. We also have Troy saying, I've been busy researching Walrus protocol, and the project really caught my eye. I just love everything about it, especially the UI and the images displayed on the website. According to data from DeFi Llama, Walrus currently has a market cap of about 624 million, with a trading price around 43 cents. The metrics could triple in the next few months, considering Walrus' strong infrastructure and the team's dedication to advancing the project. They recently partnered with Seal, and this partnership adds to Walrus in terms of on-chain access policies, identity-based encryption, and easy-to-use TypeScript SDKs or software developer kits. There are many projects out there making waves and solidifying their foundations, and Walrus is definitely one of them. Alts are finally on the move from what's been a tough 2025 so far. People are getting the feeling that alt season will finally start soon, if not right now. Sui is having a great 2025 so far, bucking the trend for most of the first half of the year while still growing now. It's quickly become one of the leading alts in the market and is up over 370% in the last 12 months. So let's find out why. Sui is killing it in all the big sectors it supports, like DeFi, where Sui nearly crossed $2 billion in TVL and hit $1.5 billion in record time. Sui also has some of the fastest stablecoin growth of any chain, so people are using it for real transactions. And then Walrus is changing the game in decentralized data storage. Its token launch was a big hit, and Seal and Nautilus are making things more secure and private. And then there's the Sui Play OX1, which is coming in September and is now officially sold out with over 10,000 pre-orders. Sui even has a small but growing meme coin market for meme coin lovers. So if you haven't used Sui lately, then come give it a try and follow Sui's X account for all the latest updates. And then for the coin that just doesn't seem to stop going up, we have Hyperliquid, which just hit $50, and the volume is up 70% in 24 hours. We also have Look On Chain saying whales are bullish on hype. This whale bought 260,000 hype for 13 million in the past 16 hours via 2 wallets. We also have Milk Road saying hype has been struggling to break its $47 resistance recently. We think it's about to happen, which it has. Here's a thread on 3 reasons why. So first, we have Hyperliquid is launching its new stablecoin, which is the biggest reason. USDH will massively boost liquidity for Hyperliquid. So they are set to launch this new stablecoin, but it is actually going to a vote right now, so it's not fully complete. The Hype Treasury strategy is nearly live. They're preparing to invest $583 million into Hype at first, and the fundamentals are rock solid. Hyperliquid dominates the perp deck space with 75% market share. We also have another good post here from GLC who says, why Hype remains mispriced. In this thread, we'll outline why we believe Hype appears significantly undervalued and why the market is likely to continue repricing it higher. We begin by benchmarking Hype against Coin, Hood, and the NASDAQ. For comparability, we use revenue, which is Hype's case and effectively equivalent to free cash flow or dividends, given that 97% of its revenue allocated to buybacks, and compare it with its peers' adjusted EBITDA, the most widely accepted proxy for operating cash generation. While this framing is actually conservative for Hype, since peers' adjusted EBITDA often overstates true cash generation, it provides the most standardized valuation basis. On an annualized basis, we have the NASDAQ at $3 billion adjusted EBITDA, we have Robinhood and Coinbase at $2 billion, and we have Hyperliquid at $1.3 billion. What this shows is clear. Hype is already operating at a scale comparable to major industry players, despite its relative youth. Its business model appears structurally more profitable, with 97% of its revenue directly distributed to investors. In terms of cash generation, Hype functions as a cash machine. Yet despite this, Hype currently trades at a valuation multiples far below Hood, Coin, and the NASDAQ. So this is the Hype chart, and the last time we were looking at this, it was right about here where we had the previous all-time highs around just under $50, and we had swept and closed below this, and so I thought, okay, that's a swing, that's a sweep. We're definitely going lower, so we actually did come down here towards around $40 to $42.50, and now we're back above here. And so, like I was saying back here, what we want to see is a daily candle close. If it was to close just like this, above this line to show actual continued strength and not just another sweep. So what we don't want to see is we don't want to see it come up, take the stops out above here, and then close below this line again, because that's not good. But if we start to close a daily candle above here, we'll start to get some sideways action, maybe like this, where we just kind of consolidate sideways. That's another great time to go long and potentially look for higher prices. Now, I will say one thing is there is a vote which is ending in a couple of days on the the stable coin. And I think this is a big deal for Hyperliquid, having this stable coin come out, and it's going to help generate more cash flow for them. But I will say this might be a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of event where over the next couple of days, whales have been loading up on Hyperliquid going into this event, taking it to new all-time highs. And then as this event happens, which I believe is on the September 13th, so in the next 5 days, as this event takes place, whales may be selling off into it. So it's not one that I'm going to be getting into just yet. You're going to want to watch the date for September 13th to watch Hyperliquid and see what happens at the vote and if whales are selling off into this news, because it is a big vote. So that's something I'm going to be watching for, and then maybe look to pick it up after this event. So what might happen is maybe we continue even higher, going to this vote, and then we sell off, but we sell off above this line and we consolidate somewhere around here. That's what I'll be looking for on Hyperliquid, and probably somewhere I'll be looking to get involved. And then moving on, we have Athena Labs, and Stablecoin X has announced an additional $530 million capital raise as part of its ENA accumulation strategy. To date, Stablecoin X has raised a total of about $895 million in PIPE financing, which is expected to result in a vehicle with over 3 billion ENA tokens on its balance sheet at closing. We also have a CryptoStream who says the fundamentals of ENA are too good to ignore. In the last 7 days, Athena generated $53 million revenue. That's twice as much as Hyperliquid. USDE supply is up 4.6x in the last 12 months and sits now at $12.4 billion, while not having a single major DPEG in that time. The incoming rate cuts, the Hyena trade, and the Ethereal DEX are going to increase Athena's revenue even further, and the fee switch will capture some of the revenue within the ENA token, and is expected sooner than later. Stablecoin X being listed on the NASDAQ could drive serious flows to ENA, as the fundamentals and valuation of Athena are far better than Circle's, and the Converge blockchain could become the leading product for institutional RWA adoption, as Athena is in a unique position for this. So Athena, it's the second highest grossing, in terms of revenue, just after Tether. So it's even before Circle, just by a little bit, just by $2 million here. But above, other than Tether, Athena is one of the highest grossing revenue, products in crypto. And so that's why we've seen a huge run up in ENA's price as well. So ENA for me is in an area where I'm a little bit late to this, so I wouldn't be buying it necessarily right here. What I'd like to see is a little more consolidation down here towards the mid 60s. I'd like to be buying if we somehow got a sweep of all these lows here below 60 cents. If we swept and then quickly closed back above, I'd like to buy there. But most likely, if that happened, if we came all the way back down here, it wouldn't be looking too good. We'd probably be doing underside retest and be going lower like that. I'd want to see a quick wick down and then a reclaim of this in order to actually be buying this. But I think we are in a position where I'm not taking any kind of position right now because I'm a little bit late. So I don't know if it's going to come all the way back down here toward the mid 60s. I think it might just head back up here. And then in which case, I'd like to look for this reclaim above here, consolidate for maybe a couple days, couple weeks, and then I'd be looking to form this base here. And then that's when I'd be looking to head back to these new highs above $1.32-ish for the next trade, something like that. So, but this is already up so much that I think there's going to be a lot of investors taking profit around the 90-cent level. Before that big dollar mark, I think a lot of people who bought all the way back down here are going to be looking to sell, especially with all these funds that have been buying, and pumping their coins. So I think there's going to be a lot of big whales because I see this all over X. A lot of big whales have been talking about this since back in the 30s and 20s. So I think a lot of people are going to be looking to de-risk around at 90 cents. So we'll have to see what happens when we get there. And then lastly for today, we have Indomobile brings 50,000 students on chain with space and time. So the program uses blockchain technology to record course completion on the SXT chain and employs the SXT, the native token, as a payment method. This approach allows students to prove their credentials when applying for jobs or further study, while simplifying payments for families, many of whom have no access to traditional banking. And until now, tuition payments in Indonesia largely relied on cash, with schools using intermediaries to send funds to educational providers. This system was slow, hard to scale, and created friction for families and schools alike. By using the SXT tokens and Space and Time's blockchain infrastructure, payments now happen directly and transparently. Parents can transfer tokens to local schools, while students' coursework is verified on-chain. Every step of the process, from payments to course completion, is recorded, ensuring accuracy and accountability. And the Indomobile Group, which has been a key player in Indonesia's automotive and financial sectors, sees education as essential to national development. They said our partnership with Space and Time allows us to lead in efficient, transparent, and verifiable education. Says Indomobile, and that is Space and Time. That's the video for today, guys. Right now, we're looking for us to break back above here. Like I was saying, we break back above here, we hold on a daily candle, we close above here. We don't just wick because we don't want to wick above here because that's just taking out a bunch of stops. We close a consistent volume above here around this, $113,500. And I think we're going to, back up towards these highs again soon. But I will say we have to wait for a lot of this big data that's coming out this week. PPI, which took us down last time. CPI data, which could help us out and take us higher. A lot of contradicting signals going on this week. So I'm taking a bit of a watching and waiting kind of stance right now. So we're going to see what happens there. But that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you tomorrow.